And now I'm joined by Greg Engel, CEO of OrganiGram Holdings. Greg, welcome back.
Hey, great to be on again, James.
Yeah, it's been a while since we've seen you. I was just commenting to Ed that on December 20th, we could have bought your stock at $4.50 a share. And now here it is way back up in the sixes. And so tell me, what's going on with OrganiGram? What's happened in the beginning of 2019 and what's gonna be the highlights of the year?
Yeah, a couple key things. I mean, you've seen some reports out in the market, so certainly just before the holidays, we saw B&M Bloomberg talking about kind of our market share in Atlantic Canada, and we're now really a national player in the adult rec market. We're in every province except for Quebec now. I think one key milestone we actually just passed on the weekend was we produced our 1 millionth pre-roll. So we've been one of the big providers in that section of the space, and certainly continue to kind of ramp up and really provide the market with as much product as we can, and getting great brand recognition now that kind of now we're a few months into the adult rec program as well. So our Edison cannabis brand certainly is getting really good recognition out in the marketplace.
So if all of your revenue, what percentage is medical versus recreational, would you say?
So we have not put out any adult rec results yet. So our Q1, which was September, October, November, will be put out in a few weeks, and that'll have our first sales in the adult rec market. So
half a month,
not quite there,
right? Half a month of rec numbers. So that won't really be the telling one. But
well, it'll be the load in though. It'll be October, November, right? So certainly.
Sure. So, but from a product side, what are you seeing? Like mostly rec, mostly
rec for sure. I mean, certainly one of the things too is we've been. As far as I know, we've seen some ups and downs in the medical space in terms of companies being able to meet supply. So we had anticipated kind of our medical demand, and we make sure that day in and day out we've got product for our medical patient base. So we've been one of the only companies that's consistently supplying our medical patients and have a full range of oils and dried products for them, as well as supplying the adult rec market. So still a big part of our business.
We actually ordered OrganiGram product on October 17th.
Excellent. Well, thanks for your support, James.
Of course, of course. Okay, so so you're in every province,
except Quebec at this point.
Quebec, and what is the expectation from where OrganiGram sits in terms of like the ability to service the national market as a East Coast brand? Do you think that East Coast element, which at one point was kind of like a flag in the sand saying we're the only East Coast thing, now everybody's crowded into Eastern Canada. You've in turn crowded into Canada, and so is the playing field now equal in terms of brands? Do Canadians have any loyalty to a brand based on geographical location?
I think the biggest thing we've seen to date is that people have loyalty to the product that's available, to be frank. I mean, there's definitely been some supply gaps, and I mean, that's one of OrganiGram's big success points to date, is that while we haven't met 100% of every commitment we've had, we've been one of the best performers in our ability to actually supply product on a consistent basis. And we see reports where there are surveys going on to look at how much product or who has listings, and some of those reports are not always accurate because they look at the number of SKUs. We didn't focus on a broad range of SKUs. We focused on a select number of SKUs and making sure that those were consistently available, because that's at the end of the day how you're going to build a brand, and that's been critical to us.
Ah, I see. Very good. So the shortages that we've seen in Ontario, I've noticed that I've never seen OrganiGram out of stock.
We've had product there consistently, for sure, and we're focused on. And one of the things we made a very conscious choice was, our commitments in Atlantic Canada, and then kind of subsequent to that, Ontario and Alberta as our core markets, and then as we went into other markets, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, and more recently BC, is before we enter into agreements, we want to make sure that we can supply the market, and that's one of the key things that we're very proud of, and our sales team's working closely. And I think the biggest thing we're seeing now, with the exception of Ontario that doesn't have retail stores as of yet, is what's that in-store experience like, right? Our sales team spend a lot of time in terms of training staff still and providing point-of-sale material and making sure that when you go into retail locations, over the holidays I was out in Alberta visiting family and had a chance to go in a couple of the retail stores out there, and it was really great to see our products and the recognition we have in store, and also hear some of the dialogue from some of the staff about how things are being accepted. So again, great feedback in terms of our product line and also having it consistently available.
Have you seen any direct relationship between an uptake in the recreational product among OrganiGram customers at the expense of the medical coterie?
So what was interesting is, in the couple weeks leading up to the Launch Direct program, we actually saw a jump in our medical sales, and I think a lot of medical patients were concerned about supply. So our medical kind of patient numbers and revenue it's been consistent. We're on the same kind of run rate. Part of that, again, has been having product available. So, and certainly we expected to see a little bit of a drop-off, but then there's that whole side of, if you're trying the product, you've never been a cannabis user, you go into a recreational store, and then you realize that, hey, I can get under my healthcare spending account, or I can get some level of coverage, or, in the case of OrganiGram, we're covering the excise tax for medical patients. So there's an advantage of shifting to medical. So I think some people are trying cannabis as a self-treatment and then looking to go into the medical program as well at the same time as they've tried product from the rec market.
Yeah, I personally have I've accessed cannabis from the Ontario Cannabis Store, but I find that the medical experience is, it's so much more mature, and therefore so much more reliable at this point that I find myself, using my medical access more so than my recreational access. But obviously that's part and parcel to do with a new sort of supply chain that's just coming out of a previously non-existent era. So tell me about the European stuff that you guys were doing. How is your build out into Europe going? Yeah,
so again, we participated with our partner in Germany, Alpha Cannabis, in terms of making an application under the tender process, which we now don't expect to see for a few months now in terms of how those are received. Working closely again with our Serbian partner, Eviana, which is traded here on the CSE as well. They're going through the process. They've been cultivating CBD from hemp last year, and they're just going through the process of producing CBD. And I was in Europe for a significant period of time at the end of last year, and really saw that there's a big opportunity on the CBD side, right? There's a big gap in terms of what's available in the market, and the companies that are currently selling CBD are having difficulty getting enough supply to meet the demand that's out there. It's amazing to see in a lot of jurisdictions where it's a medical product, but it's also a nutraceutical, and there's a lot of self-treatment that happens, and you see CBD routinely in not only natural health food stores, but also a lot of pharmacies are doing in different countries white label product as well, right? So there's just that growth that's happening in CBD, which I think is really exciting, which is part of our partnership, not only with Eviana, but as we've talked about before, with Hyasynth here in Canada as well.
Sure, so that was going to be my next question. How's it going with Hyasynth and biosynthesis using yeast? Yeah,
so Hyasynth, again, is just, they're at the stage right now where they're, looking to finalize kind of their own facility and kind of move forward on that side at a larger scale, finalizing things within the near future with a contract manufacturer. The interesting part of some of the work they've been doing as well is now they're, in addition to CBG, CBD, THC, they're also, which they've got a proven path for, they're looking to synthesize minor cannabinoids, I think, which is really interesting because in the future that allows you both in the pharmaceutical world to produce a very unique, complex mixture of both major and minor cannabinoids. And you have to remember, many of these minor cannabinoids are, only present in such small numbers in the plant. If you can produce them in a pure form through biosynthesis, presents a huge opportunity, but it also has a huge implication on the rec market, right? I think some of these products can have an impact in the rec market, and some combination products can be developed there. So exciting times for them, continue to move kind of against progress, and really excited to see what's going to come out of them. We expect to see product from them 12 to 14 months from now in terms of
on a commercial scale. Interesting, because I always thought with your background in biopharma that you would be one of the guys who was going to very much be at the cutting edge of that, and certainly the investment in Hyasynth seems to support that. Do you, at this point, have any kind of partnerships with any clinical or university level sort of exploratory pure CBD or pure cannabinoid ingredient as a biopharma?
Not yet, as of yet. I think that's something we're talking about in terms of the future. Is there a way when you produce these pure forms that are more pharma-like to actually go through the R&D process with some of them? We do have a really interesting partnership with the University of UWM in New Brunswick, University of Moncton, looking at a lot of things in terms of plant development, right, and trying to extrapolate some of the learnings that they've had with other plants into the cannabis plant. So we've got some space set up from an R&D perspective within our facility for their PhD team to do research, and and that's ranging across a whole area, including not only kind of genetic tracking of products, but also doing things like non-GMO plant modification. There's a lot of techniques that are used in other agricultural types of industries where you can do bacterial infusion into the soil, and that can have a huge impact on yields in areas like that. So that's an exciting partnership we're working on right now.
Wow. Okay. Great, Greg. So then, is it your intention at OrganiGram then to, sort of divide the company? Like the last time we visited the facility, you had a very clear distinction between your recreational products and more your medical line. Is that something that we're going to see continue in 2019 and beyond? Or are you leaning more towards a recreational or a biological or biomedical?
No, we've done a separation and distinction. OrganiGram is the brand and the kind of how we name our medical products. We want to make sure that we build off and retain that brand. And then, Edison Cannabis Company, our Anchor Organics lines, we got our organic certification last October. So we wanted to build up enough inventory. We'll be launching that into the adult recreational market in the not too distant future. And then our Trailblazer line. So we do treat them very different and distinct, and we have some very different products. So even in our oils, for example, we have a different line of products in our medical population versus our adult rec population. So we want to make sure that we had an entry-level oil for people to try, that we're kind of new cannabis users in the adult recreational market. We've had good success with the response from it.
Sure. What is the most popular product at OrganiGram?
Our Rio Bravo, I would say, in the Edison line.
Okay.
I'm not sure which products you've tried. You mentioned you'd ordered some products.
Yeah, I was actually just looking at the available strains, and I can't remember which one I tried, and I think it was Low Tide or High Tide. No, it would have been High Tide because it was very potent in THC, we remember. Right. But it was really good. In fact, it was quite funny because we had it stashed in a drawer here, and everybody kept coming in and taking a little bit and going off, and it was down to nothing in no time.
There you go.
But
you have to replenish your stock, James.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I've actually got a process. I think I'm just become an OrganiGram medical patient.
Oh wow! Again,
yes.
Thanks for your support. Appreciate it.
Of course. All right, Greg. Well, let's leave it there for now. We'll come back to you again in due course, and thanks very much for the update.
Excellent. Great. Thanks again for having me, James.
You bet.